Let's just go over where we were up to at the last
Food
point.
was very scarce at the time. The biggest problem in ghetto was food.
We're talking now the summer of 1941, the winter and summer,
1941.
January to June 1941.
A lot of people were happy to be evacuated. They believed they're going to have it better. And because food was so scarce at that time, we got a piece of bread, they made a whole soup for the whole for the entire family. People got swollen and from hunger and sick. The hospitals were filled with people, and the dying was, I don't know how many, hundreds a day. It was such a mass production, this dying. People were glad to be evacuated when they asked for evacuation. They had no problems to evacuate people.
And the people volunteered at this point?
Yes, a lot of people volunteered.
And people still had no idea where they were being taken?
No.
Nobody knew anything
They say
about Chelmno?
it can't be worse. They believe it can't be worse than it was. Because you go out in the street and you see people are dying, or you see people are look at their faces and see they will die tomorrow. That's how they look. You could see already how far they are.
These people, how did the Chaver Kadisha, who were the people who handled this, who were able to...
Volunteers. They took care. It was taken care of, and it was no problem.
At this point, up till June of 1941, do you know of any stories, people who were Moshe Nefesh, people who died al Kiddush Hashem at this point?
I don't know what to say. People, they went to daven every day. Still, they were a little shul, a hidden shul. They went to that 3 times a day to daven, and the people were sitting and learning. There was a whole group of people.
There was Sefer Torah?
Sefer Torahs were there. We had enough Sefer Torahs. A whole group of people, they didn't want to get their rations, in order they shouldn't take him to work. They shouldn't be disturbed. They were sitting in a bunker, in a little hidden apartment, all day and night, and were learning there. I know there are a lot of people survived from them. They're here in New York. Hamel Kempinsko, H. Perlman, and there were H. Yoskevich, a whole, I don't know, remember, a lot of nice few people were there. But then they caught them in the court of the rest of the group, and they sent them away anyway. This was going on. We received rations. From the rations we made for 2 weeks, a ration it could last a day or two, not to be full with it, not to be.
Who was giving out the rations? The government?
The government, yes. We made us we didn't get coffee. We got sikoria. You know what it means? Sikori. A kind of a coffee, ersatz coffee. We made soups out of it and cakes out of it for Shabbos. We made whole big deals. But it was awful at that time, this period of time. Then people got sick. In my family, I remember it was Purim, 42. It was in March 42. We went to Megillah downstairs. We had a minyan in ghetto, also in somebody's house. We went Megillah. On the way up, my brother couldn't walk anymore. He got sick. And this was the last time he walked up. We lived three flights up. Last time he walked up the stairs, and since then he was bedridden all the time. And while in bed, he was learning, and he got sicker and sicker. Before that, yet we tried to make a living from. It was in the winter time, or before that yet, 41.
December 41, January 42?
Yes. My brother, myself, and another cousin of ours, distant cousin, he lives now in Montreal. Just happened to find out he lives in Montreal. We made plates, cooking plates. We went to the stores, who used to be hardware stores. We bought wire, soft wire. We made spirals out of it. We went to the outside and we brought up those lime earth, limestone, soft limestone. We made in a pot. We took a pot. We made roofs. We made those spirals with a pencil. And then we went to there was the electricity. Wasn't like on a meter, but it was everybody had distributed certain amount of electricity, 50 kilowatt or 60 kilowatt, whatever it was. We went behind the meter not the meter, behind this
thing that allocated the electricity.
Yeah, we put wires underneath. We had enough electricity because it couldn't. You understand?
You hot wired the meter.
You couldn't make it on the hot plate with this little electricity. This maybe pulled 500 watt. This was only 50 watt, and that's how we went. We sold those hot plates. We got a piece of bread or some money, whatever we could. This also the way we survived in the house. We got some extra income from it, and so we could survive. And then my brother got sick, as I said, and there were no doctors, very few. Once I got a doctor, then if the doctor came, he saw us very sick, but he couldn't have he didn't get no medicine. There were any medicines available.
There were hospital facilities?
Hospital, but also they had no medicines.
So just with doctors
just to die there. Doctors, hospitals, maybe they had some kind of aspirins, I don't know what kind of medicine. They had very poor medicines.
During this time, what were your parents doing?
Nothing. Couldn't do anything.
Well, your father was watching still the wood buildings?
Yes, as long as he could, he did.
So how did your mother spend her time during the day? What did she do? She looked for food? She
looked for food, or she prepared food. To prepare this kind of food is a bigger job than going to the kitchen and the frigidaire and take out food and cook. To make from potato peels, to make a cake or bread, or from bread to make a soup, or to get some vegetables wherever you can get it. It was a full day's job for her.
And all this time in the ghetto, did people get together, the Fruma, and talk? What's going on? What's going to be the end to this? What's happening?
No. In this time in 1942,
you just accepted it.
In 1942, there was already a different world. Everybody was occupied with himself. Everybody, whether he was dying or he was suffering, there wasn't a get-together or talk together to meet friends. It was out of it.
Nobody even went to Stiebel anymore to daven?
No.
But up to the beginning of 1942?
The Frime, he believed it's going to be good. In the non-Frime, he said hell with everything. Even the Frime said, cursed everything and everybody. There was a fact. Once they had a Gittenbelt fellow in a Gerish Stiebel, a Chassidish Yid. If he was able to shlich tzibur for a few hundred people, he must have been a very Chassidish Yid. And they hired him, they wanted him to daven, Rosh Hashanah, also in a place for two loaves of bread. Fine, for 2 loaves of bread, everybody would do everything. And everything. But he said, Yiskadal v'yiskadash, he stuck his thumbs out, like, that means he just say it. This was once a Chassidish Yid, okay. It's nothing, I mean, this isn't Lashon Hara, and this I don't consider it, he became an apokoiris. This was the daily
The life.
This was it.
Now, how
You couldn't
about
blame
you and your family? How did you react to all this? What was going through your mind?
My brother didn't want to taste the non-kosher. We received rations, non-kosher horse meat. He started to this person to get a horse meat. And my brother didn't want to take it, even though we went to a Mararua and he said he should, but he didn't want it. He felt he saw anyway he's on his way out. Why should he eat rifles? He didn't do it till now. I was after, I forgot already. I was after also dysentery. I had a sickness. I was weakened up. So everybody put together his pieces of bread or whatever they could help me. I should survive, and I became good, and I ate the meat.
But what was going through your mind? Did you think there'd be an end to this? You had betochen? Did you waver? Did you
just betochen? That's all. We didn't question. There was no time to question or to think about of anything. Just to see where can you get the next piece of bread. All right. This was in the time during the concentration camp. I always thought of the Gerrer Rebbe.
The madness.
Yeah.
You still were putting on tefillin on 42? You were able to put on tefillin?
Yes,
were
I
davening?
did. We put on tefillin every day. And during 42 was one of the toughest time for me. My brother got sick. My mother had a typhus before Pesach. And at that time, Erev Pesach was also an evacuation order. They wanted to have, I don't know how many, 12, 13,000, I don't know how many people. I remember the first night of the Seder in the ghetto, 1942, a police guard was standing behind our door because we were probably assigned to be evacuated. They gave us a notice, they sent us a notice that we're going to be evacuated because my brother was in hospital for a few days. He was on the list. He was on the list, the whole family on the list, entire family. They stayed outside. We wanted to go out for the water because we didn't have water, as I mentioned. The policeman had to go along with me in order I shouldn't escape because I was outside. They put on a seal. The door wasn't allowed to be opened. Nobody would dare to open the door.
This was a Jewish policeman who had to go with you?
Yes. And the first night of Pesach, the evacuation was called off. They had already the amount of people, so the policemen left us. Mother got sick on a typhus. Right after Pesach, they took her to the hospital. She was there for a few weeks, and then there was an order that all those who had typhus people in the house, they should be isolated because they shouldn't spread around the sickness. This was a epidemic, contagious. So they took us all, including my brother, to a certain, I can't remember where it was a jail, it was a place where they took all the people from this, not beside this, the people, the family from the sick people.
Who had typhus.
And they took us to a place for about a week to 10 days. Until
This was outside the ghetto or inside the ghetto?
In the ghetto, everything, nothing outside.
This was the government that did this?
Yes. In the meantime, the apartment, they sprayed out every day with another kind of Clorox or whatever it is. All right. After a few weeks, we couldn't go visit the modern hospital because there was no visitors were allowed to the hospital. Mom was in the hospital for a few weeks and I couldn't go see her. And she came back. she came back as soon as the temperature fell because she had very high fever. In this type of she had high fever. She came back. They released her because the fever fell, but she was still very sick. And finally, she never came out of the sickness, but the typhus went away. But then she became her lungs got affected. And she got sick till last day, was bedridden. She got swollen. Water came out of her pores.
When was this?
This time from 42. Start from May till August. And my father got sick, also swollen. We had no food. Very rare, very little food. And my sister was wasn't released. She also went to the hospital.
Which sister?
She also, Machtjo, the older sister, she went to the hospital. She had also got typhus from it. And the younger sister, Rivka, there was a children's home in ghetto. But they saved some children, and they gave them an extra. Such children but couldn't stay in the house because of sicknesses, and we had to have protection there. To have an inn. I had somebody who worked there, so they took my younger sister in, and she was there for a few months. Her I could visit, and I was the only one who walked there, was around. And the doctor came. We had a doctor that came from Pabianic. They know us. He came quite often to our house to visit us. He prescribed a medicine that he couldn't get. They gave us some medicine. I don't know what kind of a water with flour, whatever it was a fake medicine. It was worthless. And I fed the family every couple hours. I gave them the medicine, and I was the one to make the food. I couldn't supply with the food because I was all myself. The ration that we got, I don't remember how much bread we got every 2 weeks, but every week. But it was very, very little, and they couldn't eat it anyway because they were sick. Finally, I can't talk so much about it. End of July, I got in a message that I can visit my sister. It meant already that you could visit us once. You could visit him before the person dies. You let one of the closest family go in.
This was your older sister?
The older sister, Machtje. I went up there because nobody could go. And she explains me, first of all, there was on a Sunday. She tells me, Avram, she said this way, Avram, hiermit kann ich beten in Eibischten, als ich soll gesund werden. How can I ask Hashem I should get well? Yesterday was Shabbos, and I forgot, and I wrote a letter to the aunt. She sent out a letter she could send out a letter to the hospital, from the hospital. And I forgot it's Shabbos. Now how can I dare to ask Hashem I should get well? This was, and she found out it's Shabbos because we sent her up we made Shabbos, we made a chewel from cabbage lettuce. We sent it up to her, so she realized it's Shabbos. And she tells me, this person next to her looked like she looks today, and the other person looked the day before like she looked, and the other person is dead already. She saw what's coming. Okay, that's all I could see.
How old was she at the time?
7. She was 20, born May the 10th, 25, and this was 42, 17 years old. And Friday after this, we got a messenger that my sister died. And it was the funeral on Friday. My parents, nobody could go to the funeral. They were bedridden.
Did they know about it?
They knew. The messenger came in. He said, and that's all. And I went to the funeral, of course. And exactly 2 weeks later, this was the day after Tisha B'Av, my sister, Shiva, sitting laying in the bed. So we Shiva already for months. They could do Shiva. They couldn't do no minyan. They couldn't make a minyan in the house. It was nothing. Also, they could cry. That's all what they could do. And say Baruch Ta'anemes. Then 2 weeks later, in the same house, my brother was in one bed, and my mother in the other bed, and the father in the third bed. My sister was in them children's home, and I was around. Erev, the day after Tisha B'Av, 10 days in Uv, it was on a Friday, my brother died. It was in the afternoon. And couldn't do anything. We just enough time, it was before Shabbos, close for Shabbos, to take him off the bed to put him on the floor. Can you imagine father and mother laying in the same bed, sick, very sick, and my brother laying on floor dead. And I went on a Sunday. I went to the Kehillah there, who took care of those burials. And there was a good friend of my brother was in charge at that time. He had a big position there. And I begged, I said, my father and mother laying sick, my brother died Friday. I would like the funeral should be on Sunday. And they couldn't do it for me. They didn't do it the first time. I was crying like a baby. I couldn't do it. The funeral was taking place on Monday. I was laying another day in the house. A tara, we made a tara. We took out a board from a closet, and I and somebody else, I don't remember who it was, we washed him in the house. This was the tara. We washed him up. But we wrapped him in blankets or tablecloths, I don't remember about it, what we had in the house. It wasn't, we didn't have tachrichim or so on. Okay, Monday I went to the funeral, and my sister went along with me from the children's home. She knew, she found out. Anyway, she came home, she went with me. No, she didn't know. I went by myself. And on my way, I think I met Shimon Koplovich. He worked on a market, a fruit or the coal market, I don't remember what it was. And I mentioned him, I'm going to the funeral because he was a close friend with my brother. He learned in one class. That's all I could say. I went to the funeral. I remember those people those diggers who dig the graves, they got a ration, two boards to put above the body, above the, yes. And he broke off a piece of board, threw it out, hid it for himself, and he covered him and put the earth on the body. But I couldn't say anything. This were the conditions. Doesn't matter, actually. And I came home from my brother's funeral. My father asks me, where is his grave? I said, next to his grave I saw a sign, Paltil Lando. He was very pleased, because this Paltil Lando was a very known Radomska Husit. He was pleased because we buried him there. The manager on the cemetery, he knew my father very well. He knew to give this part of the cave away to put my brother. I came home the same night. I started to make some food with I had potato peels left over. My father begged me, Avramala, give me a stickle potato kegels. He was hungry. He was swollen and everything. Mother was in the next bed. Crying, of course, I don't know. We couldn't cry anymore. It wasn't a crying, it was some kind. And father he hardly could talk. The same night, my father died. It was around 3 o'clock in the morning. And mother was laying in the next bed. I heard he made a like this. So I knew already the symptoms. I saw so many how people died in the ghetto. I sat down at mother's bed, and I started to explain it. But the doctor was. There happened to be Sunday before. The doctor was in the house. The doctor told me that father hardly believes that father will pull through. But if you will be strong enough, you will make it. Try to get strong and let nothing bother you. I was young, I was 20 years old, I had no experience in life. Just was foolish talk. Now I realized, later I realized, but I talk like a stupid. But this how I try to talk to mom. And then I went into it was still dark because it was dark, we were not allowed to open the lights. It was everything in the dark. That's what my mother didn't realize at the moment when he died. The windows were pulled down, the shades, and the light wasn't allowed to be on. And I sneaked out to the house and I went to my uncle's house, but they lived in the same floor. And I told him. And I started to cry, I don't know what to say, how to do, and what to tell Mama. Anyway, to make it short, the funeral wasn't the same day. And I came to the cemetery, also by myself, nobody went with me. I came to the cemetery, I should be buried next to my brother. Was somebody already buried next to my brother? So between my father and my brother is another cave. But I found out the man was laying next to them, it was also a very chushev Yid. That's what I found out. Chassidish Yid, a gerach chusid. Anyway, came home. Then I came home with my sister. She couldn't stay there anymore. She had her time was up, or she didn't want to stay there anymore. She wanted to stay home with mother. Mother struggled another 2 weeks. Just 2 weeks later, same hour, mother died. Same house, same apartment. I felt ashamed to go out in the street. What was going on in our house at that time, it was awful. What was going on in many houses, but one after the other, this way, I felt I was ashamed. Then what happened to my sister? She stayed in the house with me. And this was in end of August, and she became also sick. She had something in her brains hit her. She was unconscious for the last week. She was sick, probably also from hunger, no question about it. And she was very unconscious. And a week before Rosh Hashanah, this was about a few weeks before Rosh Hashanah, 3 weeks, there was another selection. This was known in the Sperre, in the ghetto. At that time, they cleaned out the ghetto. They made from the ghetto a working place. Only workers are allowed to stay in ghetto. Those people who can work and can produce. They evacuated elderly, children up to 10 years, elder than 60 years, I think. Whoever wasn't sick, they took all the hospitals, evacuated the hospitals, they threw them down on the trucks they emptied out all the hospitals. In the hospital were infants, births. They put a few kids, a few babies in the sacks and threw them down the window on the trucks. And their mothers they took away. Everything. And also there was everybody had to go down to on the yard to make the selection, who's selected whom to send away, whom to leave. My sister was left. I left my sister in the house because she couldn't walk down. She was unconscious. But 2 Jewish policemen went checking in the houses, and they brought her down, put her on the wagon. They left me. From this selection, I wasn't the selection. They left me.
Did you know that they were taken out to be shot?
No.
Again, just to be evacuated?
Evacuated, out of the ghetto. They made an announcement, take along pots with bedding, with clothing. They make people think they're going away someplace else, different places. They're sending them to Germany. There they will live in farms, because here there have to be only workers. Because they say the front is nearing, the war going on. They try to tell them that they're going to be safe. Anyway, Erev Rosh Hashanah, I was left alone, single, since then.
This is 1942.
1942. There was another selection, the same, in our yard. They came again twice. I don't know why. That's what happened. They thought they didn't do enough. We had a lot of bedding from all those beds. I put them on one bed, and I didn't want to go down. I was hiding in those beds. There happened to be bugs in it. They crawl over me, but I didn't dare to move. And I left the door open from the outside. They should know that they shouldn't think that somebody's hiding inside. I left the door open. In fact, they came in, and they tried, the closet was closed. They knocked it open with a bat, I don't know what, they knocked open the door with the closet door to see if somebody isn't in the closet. And I was laying there. I didn't dare to breathe, as I said. Okay. This day, was officially out. The selection was called off, and then you had to go to work. They organized. Everybody had to go to work. They had enough. They got accumulated a lot of work. The Germans brought in a lot of work. They organized shops. Working shops, all kind of work, and I also went to work. Since then, food was a little it became a little better. It was more stable. The rations.
Were you still able to do Shomer Shabbos at this point and put on tefillin?
Yes, because I got the work with the leader from the manager was a roof. A Lubavitcher Chusid, Mendel Rosenmutter. He was uncle of this Favel Kohn, his mother's brother. And he took me in to work there in his place. I learned how to make transmission belts and to fix the transmission belts on all kind of wheels. Wherever a wheel was turning, there wasn't electricity like now. You had to do it with transmissions. And they had to. I went a half a day. I worked in the shop, but I had to go on Shabbos also. There was no going, but I didn't work Shabbos because they knew I'm a friend of this manager, and I'm a Shomer Shabbos. The manager told the next manager he shouldn't touch those people who don't want to work. They shouldn't work, But people work on Shabbos, of course. And every day I came to work, and the other half a day I went out into the city to fix transmission belts. When I was by myself, I didn't feel the hunger too much anymore because I had a special ration because I was registered. I'm working 60 hours a week. I worked every day, so the time was full to get the extra soup. And in my apartment, when I was left alone, they put me in another two people, strange people, a man and a lady, which I had to share with them this apartment. A couple of months later, the lady died in the apartment.
Was Shomer Shabbos, these are from people or no?
No. This the man, what was a young fellow also, maybe a couple of years older than me. He worked in a kitchen, so he was better up with food. But I went to shops. Once they sent us around to prove that they need leather or transmission strips to make those belts. They asked us to go to all those factories where they make work for the Germans. We made everything what's in, if it comes to shoes, hats, clothing, lingeries, everything was made in the ghetto. They made everything. But they needed, they proved that they needed raw stuff for the transmissions. So I went to a few factories and took measures and see what conditions there are. But on my own, I went with one of my friends, the Favel Kohn's brother, also worked there in this factory. We went to a meat factory. In the meat, they have a lot of transmission belts because they made the worst salamis they made from the meat. And this was the only time I really got full. I went out without being hungry. I didn't need any. I didn't need any bread more to eat at this day. This was my one single day in ghetto when I was not hungry.
When was this now? This was still 1942?
This was 1943 probably already, early 1943. I had to go out from the ghetto. I thought, now I'm dying, but I'm dying not being hungry, I said to my friend, Shimshon Kohn. I went to his house. His parents were still alive. Went to his house, and we had a lot of hot coffee. This saved us. This day I had an extra portion of bread. I didn't need to eat it. I had it for the next day. So I had the next day also a little bit more. This was the the good part what I had in the ghetto during the few years. But this was going on. I went to work every day till there were another few selections which I survived till the end of the August 44. That time in ghetto was left around 70,000 people. From 250 what was originally, and they brought into the ghetto maybe another 200,000 people from the other cities. At that time, there were around 65 to 70,000 people in ghetto at August 44.
During all this time, is there any physical resistance by the Jews, or any plans to make an uprising or revolt?
There were a few strikes or resistance or try to, but not really. Those people who started to strike or to go out in the street and to yell, bread, we want bread, we want, the people yelled. The following day, or 2 days later, they were all ready to be evacuated. This is the first people what they grabbed to send them away. They knew already.
The government grabbed it?
Yes.
The ghetto government?
The ghetto government. Everything, they did everything.
What was the reaction of the Frum people to the government? Was it Rumkowski?
Yeah.
What did they think of him? What was their opinion?
That he shouldn't have done it. I mean, not that he shouldn't have done it. That he is not allowed to. He said that if he wouldn't do it this way, the way he did it, the Germans will come in and they will do it by themselves. It will be much worse. There will be a lot of killings and slaughtering in the streets. They will make such a behemo, how do you say it?
Pogrom.
They do have. They can do it at chaos. They will drag out 10 times as many people as they ask for. They'll go from door to door. They will kill. They will do everything.
They still felt he had no right to do it.
Hmm?
They had no right to do what they felt, though.
They said he's supposed to give himself. That's all. But he felt that he's saving. He said if the ghetto will survive with 60,000 people in the ghetto, he will be the only one who did it. There will be a concentration of 60,000 people in one place left. 60,000 Jews left in one place, where nowhere else it happened. Maybe he had right. I don't know. I can't judge. It's hard to judge it. Who knows?
What happened in August of 1944?
August 1944, they start to cut the ghetto in parts, to cut away pieces of the ghetto, sections. One day they said, this section of the ghetto, I wouldn't mention names, it's not important. This section of the ghetto is everybody has to go into this part of the ghetto. This is closed out. Whoever will be found tomorrow morning after 5 o'clock will be shot on the spot. So everybody ran. There's no place to hide there. And then they did it with a few parts, and then they squeezed everybody together. And I was hiding with my cousin Saul, with his family. His cousin Saul lives in Canada now, in a basement. But it was worthless. They came in, out, they chased us out.
And you stayed in the old place?
No.
This is in a new place?
In a new place. There was no problem to go from one place to the other. They didn't have to take nothing along. Just had to go. They didn't let you take anything along. You took along, well, all I took along was the album of pictures what I had, a souvenir, a watch from my grandfather, and some food what I had left. A shirt or whatever. I didn't have anything. I don't know what I had to. I don't remember.
Film you didn't have anymore?
Film.
That's it.
That's it.
So you went to the new part of the ghetto. They told you.
New part. It took maybe a day or two.
And they came to select people again.
And then again everybody. They wanted to clean. They said they're cleaning out all the ghetto. We're going to a different place of work because the Russians are nearing, and and the war is going to be in this section, we had to clear out the section.
And still didn't know what was going on?
We didn't know. We didn't know what was going on. We went, and they took us, put us on the, and they gave rations, everybody a loaf of bread with a jar of jam, marmalade. And people were going for it also. They put us on the trains and sent us to Birkenau.
To Birkenau. Where was Birkenau?
Near Auschwitz.
That's what, there's the camp right next to it.
Yes.
That was the work camp or the death camp?
I didn't work there. It was there was a transferable camp.
How did you go from Lodz to Birkenau?
By trains.
Describe the conditions in the train.
The trains we squeezed in about 200 people. I don't know how many. More than we could fit in. We traveled for about 12 hours, I think. We went in the evening. We came out in the morning. And the conditions in the train were terrible because there was no toilets or something else. Elderly, young, and old, and we were sitting one on top of the other. No air to breathe. It was very, very little. We broke off from our little window, so we had a little air.
People died on the train? Did you recall?
Not on this. I don't remember. I don't know. We jumped out. We don't know what was left inside there.
So you left at Birkenau. They told you to get out.
Yeah, we came to Birkenau. They chased us out. Everything in a hurry. And I went at that time with my cousin, but I lived together, Moshe Buzin. I said Buzin. He was also there.
That's the son of the sister that
my
got you the
father's
apartment.
sister, yes. And his father wasn't alive anymore. He died a couple of months earlier. And his sisters were evacuated already sometime a year before. And his grandmother was still alive. She was in her 80s. His father's mother.
How did she manage to stay alive?
She had enough food, whatever she had. Elderly person, she didn't need so much, and she was sitting in the house, and somehow.
So you got to Birkenau. They made you get off the train. What happened then?
Got off the train. They made a selection.
Who made the selection?
The German, Mengele.
Did you see Mengele?
Yes, I didn't know who was Mengele. Later I found out his was.
Did you recognize him from his pictures?
No. I didn't. I hardly looked on his face. How long did I see him? A minute? Half a minute? He
just stood there and went
through. Yeah, I went through him, past him, and he made with his fingers right or left, whatever he said.
You didn't know what right or left meant. You just went where he pointed you.
Wherever they pointed me, I went. My cousin went to the other side. And this cousin Saul, what is in Canada, he went also together with me. We met together to go together on this train. I meant to go with other cousins together. We were closer. He was more my kind of a religious boy, and learned and he was. With him I was close, but not as close as I was with other. But it turned out that with him I stuck together, and the other one went on the other side.
Moshe went to the other side.
Yeah, with his family, everybody there went. And Saul went with me. We went together. I mean, Saul and myself.
What happened to the people who went to the other side? Do you know?
They right away to this we knew. When we came there, we knew already they're going to the crematoriums. When we came to Auschwitz, we find out right away.
And what did they do with you?
With me, they took us into the camp, and we didn't do anything until we were there from a week before Rosh Hashanah. No, earlier, a couple of weeks before
August
Rosh Hashanah.
1944.
Yes, August 44. We were there for till day after Yom Kippur. And we were sitting there, being there, doing nothing, and waiting till they will send us further.
Did they give you anything to eat while you were there?
They gave us rations, bread, piece of bread.
You didn't have to do any work though?
No.
Did they still have your tefillin with you?
No.
Nobody
Right at this point, when he came to Birkenau, we had to take off all the clothes, undress, and leave everything on the other side, except the shoes. Everything we came on the other side of the bathing spot, but they shaved us off completely all over. We came to the other side of the bathing place. They gave us prisoner clothes.
So the album of pictures and the watch you lost?
Everything was gone. I took along just the shoes, nothing else. And this I was lucky, because with these shoes I went through the entire concentration camp. If I wouldn't have it, people didn't have shoes, they got sick at no time. The shoes also saved my life. And it happens that a couple of days before we left the ghetto, I fixed my shoes in the ghetto with a tailor, because I worked in the tailor in a shop and made us transmission belts.
Conveyor belts.
Yes, there was leather also, and the people were shoemakers. In this same, they knew how to fix a pair of shoes, and we were working there, so they fixed me my shoes. So I came out from ghetto with a healthy pair of shoes.
What happened after Yom Kippur?
After Yom Kippur, no wait. While being in Birkenau, every day we had to stay in line for the rations with the appeals twice a day, sometimes 3 times a day, to count us, to have a count on us. Once I happened to go to bring bread from the kitchen to our camp, to our barrack. I grabbed a piece of bread out of they were carrying the bread in blankets. 6 people were holding the blankets. There were about 150 loaves of bread for the camp. There were maybe 1,000 people. I don't know how many people were there. I grabbed the bread out and I ran away with my cousin. It took maybe 5 minutes. We cleaned out this bread, not a crumb was left of it. A kilo, more than 3 pounds, a 3-pound bread. Not a crumb was left of it. We came back to the camp, nobody caught us, and if they would catch us, we would be killed. Once, I went to, after they gave out the soups, they gave out bread in a soup. On the bottom of the soup is always a little heavier, stays a little flour, whatever, potatoes burnt. After they put away the kettles in the side, the people fell on those kettles with their hands or with the spoons, grabbed to scratch it out. I was among them. And the capo from this, he ran after me. He gave me over my head with a pole. I thought at that time, I'm out, I'm finished. I fell away, I fell down, I was unconscious for a while. Later they told me they took me into the barrack and they put me in cold water. I didn't know anything about what was going on with me. But he also hit me on my back. I felt a pain. Sometimes even today I still feel, if I don't behave by working or whatever, I still feel a pain. I felt a pain for a long time to come. In fact, after the war, I went to a hospital for a week or 2 in Germany because the pain was so strong. But it didn't affect me.
This person who hit you was a Jewish person?
Who hit me?
Was from the camp, a German?
A German, a Pole, I don't know. It was one
of the people running the guards or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, he was
Were people still davening even without film? People were still davening, or
Yeah, I guess so.
you were able to daven?
I davened whatever I knew by heart. In fact,
Came Yom Kippur, people fasted.
a lot of, we came to the camp, and we came to Birkenau. It was a mixture of all nations. So, Lodge Ghetto, of course, and a lot of Hungarian Jews were there already. In all kind of nationalities. And the Hungarian Jews, they came there. They started there to feel the Germans in July or August '44. They didn't know anything before. They brought them to Auschwitz, to Birkenau, and they organized, they davened together. They fasted, a lot of them fasted also.
They were still strong, in other words.
They were still strong to do it. In day before Yom Kippur, the same Yom Kippur was in Birkenau, they made a selection, again selections. We stood the whole day from the morning till around 5, 6 o'clock. Until they didn't give us the rations. We were starved the whole day, Erev Yom Kippur. And they also selected people to the crematorium, to the ovens. In the evening, they gave us at night already. It was in Yom Kippur already. They gave us the rations of bread. And who could not eat it? A lot of the Hungarians didn't eat it.
When you first came to the concentration camp, did you begin to find out stories that was happening over the rest of Europe? People from different places tell you what was happening? Stories?
They say they're killing. Now they found out that everybody is being killed.
At this point, you knew that everybody was taken out. The Lodge Ghetto was killed already.
Yeah. Everybody is being killed. We didn't find anyone what was evacuated. We thought maybe the people from Lodge came to Auschwitz before when they evacuated.
No one knew.
No one was there. And the people know.
Were the people there who had been there for years already at Birkenau?
Yes. There were not too many years. There were people longer. People were staying for a year or two also. Privileged people. They were privileged. They became kapos. They became known to them. They did their work. There was work to do. They did everything.
Like trustees.
Trustees.
What happened after Yom Kippur, 1944?
After Yom Kippur, it took a group of 200 people. I was with me and my cousin, Saul Reichbart, and they took us they selected us to a different camp, to Gleiwitz.
Where?
Gleiwitz.
Where was this?
This was around 150 kilometers away from Auschwitz.
So how did they transport you there?
By train. Also took us by train. It took us a day. I don't know how many. It was already more menschlich to take us there, because they took us there to work. Stop it.
Hmm?
Okay. They took us 200 people to Gleiwitz. Gleiwitz, the train was normal, were about 60, 70 people into a train. It wasn't too crowded. It was menschlich, halbwegs. We came to Gleiwitz. They were expecting us. It was a clean-cut camp, but they were working. They took us, they dispersed us around in the barracks. There were, I don't remember how many barracks, but there were 20 or 15 barracks. And everybody had his own not a bed, you're going to call it a bed, but a place to lay down, to sleep.
In Birkenau you didn't have that?
Pardon? Birkenau, no. Birkenau we slept all together.
On the shelves,
like the animals.
Now we should show those shelves there.
Like the shelves where they see people sticking out of.
Yeah. on the floor, well, squeezed together one next to the other. Somebody wanted to go to the toilet, you had to climb over the heads. Anyway, we got to Auschwitz, and there we had to bathe every day. Everything it was clean. They were very conscious on the cleanliness. There were Jewish couples. Some of them were nice people. And we had our stable rations there. In the morning and after work, I went to work. What did I did all kind of work. I don't remember what, by buildings, constructions, and cleaning all the boards and pulling out nails. It was a full day's work. It was hard enough, but it was after what we went through from the ghetto in Auschwitz and Birkenau. This was a real Gan Eden, a paradise.
Well, excuse me, when did you go to Gleivis? This was
The day after Yom
after
Kippur.
Yom Kippur, 1944. Still.
Yeah, and we were there till January the 20th, around 3 months.
No change, everything went the same?
Everything went the same. We had appeals twice a day.
They had what?
Roll calls twice a day. But this
But there were
was
no crematoriums, there were ovens there.
no. Somebody got sick or he got unable to work. They took him right away to the crematorium. But this was they made their kind of chemicals for the army. I don't know, for the war. So they wanted to have it. It wasn't a healthy job anyway. It was a very you could get if you worked there for a year. You had to get sick.
And your cousin Saul was there at the same
With
time?
me together. Anyway, it came January the 18th. The Russians were close by, and they had to evacuate us. We started to put together. We grabbed. We got bread. They had a lot of bread in the magazines and all kind of food, whatever. And everybody who had we had this manashka, this pots that they carried along in a piece of cord. We made a knife from a spoon. We made a sharp knife. We were prepared to the walk. The first day we walked out in the morning. We went for a full day. At night,
No stopping?
no. Walked the full day. I don't know which direction we walked. We walked. They knew, but I don't know. And then they took us into a barn. We slept there. And next day, the order was to go back to Auschwitz.
How many people were going, would you say?
But there was 700-800 people.
Did people die along the way? Or get shot, or?
I don't think so. In this march, this camp was pretty good.
They wanted to save you, they needed your
Yes.
body.
It was. I noticed. I don't know about it. Whether they shot it. There were a lot of SS men around. In fact, we pushed the wagon. We had to push the SS men had their rucksack,
The luggage.
their luggage with them, but they put it on one wagon, and we had to push it. And every time they changed the people who pushed them. So once I came to pushing, I put my hand in, I felt there is a bread, a box of something, goodies. Took the knife, it was in the middle of the night. I took the knife, I cut off the sack, pulled out the bread, and I pulled out what was sprats, and I pulled away from the wagon. I got my cousin, we ate it up right away. One of those things.
Anyway, after the first night you slept in a barn, and then they said they're going to...
Then next day we went back the same direction to Auschwitz.
Such a big barn, it could fit 800 people in?
2 barns. I don't know. We were sleeping one on top of the other, actually. A men and women. A women camp also.
Did anyone try to escape?
I don't know. Maybe they did, but I don't think
You didn't hear
anybody
about
escaped.
anything.
The people escaped, yes. They didn't move out of the camp. They were hiding in this factory. There was
Garbage.
down there in the factory. The factory was built inside, underground. A lot of people were. I don't know how many. I found out later. People were hiding there, in the factory, and it took 3 days or 4 days later the Russians arrived. So they survived. I met a few people after this, and we went back to Auschwitz. Then the tourists started.
This was by Birkenau or to Auschwitz?
No, back to Gleiwitz, I mean. Back to Gleiwitz. The same direction we went the first day, we went back the next day.
So you went back to Gleiwitz.
The same 12, 13 hours went back.
So you went back to the camp itself?
No, we went back to the railroads in Gleiwitz. The trains were packed already. And they opened the trains and they squeezed us in on top of this because the people arrived from Auschwitz, from the other camps, Mono, Bonowitz, I don't know the name of camps. They're waiting for us to come back. They squeezed us in. The train was full packed and had to put in another 20 people. Saul and I and another group went into the camp, to one of the trains, and we were lucky. We had yet a bread in our possession. I had a bread and Saul had a bread with a can to put food in with a piece of cord. It was winter, January the 20th. The snow was falling so heavy. It was so cold. But we wanted to stay at a corner at the wall, not in the middle of the train. Everybody who stayed in the middle of the train got squashed or died. Couldn't survive. In wagon. We had a piece of bread. We said to somebody, if you let me go there, I'll give you a piece of bread. So right away the deal was done. Me, Saul and I, we stayed at a corner. We didn't move away from them anymore. But after a day or two, we couldn't eat the bread anymore. We ate the first days, we had a piece of bread, but we could only eat it, nobody should notice it. Nobody should see it because they would grab it out from our mouths. But later you couldn't eat it anymore. We had those open them out, the snow should wetten our lips. At stations.
How long were you on this train?
10 days.
10 days.
10 days.
You never got off the train once?
We never once at a station, Saul somehow ran out of the train. I don't know what kind of excuse he got to the assessment. A few people went down. He grabbed some water, and others drank their own.
They didn't give anything to drink or eat on the entire
Nothing.
train the whole time?
We didn't get anything. But we went through several times. We went through, and it wasn't. They took. I don't know how they took us from Gleiwitz to Oranienburg. It's about 300 kilometers to take us for 10 days. 10 days and 10 nights. But once we went through a bridge, when people went or went home from work, probably went to work. They had their rations. They had their lunches with them. They saw us. They throw those portions of food what they had. They throw it down to the train, to our trains.
Where they could see you in the train?
We are open trains. Wasn't closed. Open trains.
You mean open? There are no roofs?
No roofs. Like the animals. And it was lucky because we had the air. It was cold, but we were squeezed together. We didn't feel any cold. All we felt was thirst. We didn't have anything to drink. We drank snow, but snow dries you out. But this is the best thing what we got. We grabbed a can with snow. We dipped the bread into it. It should get soft. That's how we soaked this. Okay. This took about, in the middle of the way, people died in the trains. We wrapped them in their own blankets. We throw them out on the roads. and it became looser inside. One night I stretched out, laying on the floor, on corpses. We left a few corpses in there to be able to sit down, to relax. That's how far it came. Once
What do you mean to be able to sit down to relax?
to sit on the corpses.
So it was too hard,
We
the
didn't
floor.
throw them out.
The floor was too hard, in other words.
If people were stepping on you this way, they saw you by then. One night I felt I was unconscious the whole night. I knew it because I spoke to my cousin, to Sal, and I called him Hamel, my brother's name. Wenn Geist the Stiebel around. I spoke to him things what wasn't real. So I wasn't
Delirious.
conscious, yes. But I came back to the consciousness after a day or so. Overnight I came back to consciousness. And we came, all right, let's make it short. We came to Oranienburg. This is the city what they took us to. Before we arrived to the station, the SS went into the trains. They pulled out those people that were 3/4 dead. Yeah, and before that we had cleaned out the dead. They gave us all the dead should be thrown out, not on the roads and not on the cities and the outside. They told us we should throw out down the corpses on the fields, not in the cities. But we didn't listen to this anyway. We throw them out as soon as somebody died. The SS came in, and they saw the people, but they're more dead than alive. They took him out. They took him in a different wagon. Then we had shootings, so they shot them all. We came to Oranienburg. Nobody was able to walk down the ramp. They put down a board. We rolled down. Just laying down, you roll down. We came down to we had to count again. It was in the evening. We arrived there at 5, 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock in the evening. This was when, end of January, winter. And they were made a roll call again, counted how much is left, whatever we are. They put us in a camp. We saw their cans, those barrels of water from fire department. There had to be water there, but this water was full of salt. We started to drink this water. It was terrible. I drink one toast was even worse. Food we didn't get anymore this evening, but we went to lay down. Next day, again they called us together. In the morning we got a cup of hot coffee and a piece of bread. Then they called us we should go to disinfect, to a laundromat, whatever, to disinfect us. We went there. Delousing and also disinfection. We went there. It was a big kettles for clothes and showers to wash. We thought they're making the tricks. They're going to gas us, but it was all right. And I stood for maybe 15 minutes, a long time they gave us to wash up. So for 15 minutes was lukewarm water. If I didn't drink 10 quarts of water, I didn't drink anything. And I said to my cousin, if they didn't kill us, they let us drink this water, we will outlive them. I felt like I got a new body, new soul, everything new after I drank. I felt what it means. Teuf Challai cherev machallai ruov. It's better to die from a bullet than die from thirst or from hunger. This was hunger. If we wouldn't be able to survive, I don't know, a day longer without this. The thirst is worse than hunger. Hunger can survive longer than thirst. It was all dried out inside. You could feel everything is peeling, but we drink so much then. Okay. You forget so fast those things.
This is still January, late
Yeah.
January
Yeah.
1944.
We stayed there for a week. For a week. In a barrack, which was awful conditions. The worst barrack was there. There they put in this barracks they put corpse, dead people, sick people, in us among them. All right. It took a week. After a week, they took us again together. They put us sent us to. How did we go to a different camp? Probably also by train. I can't remember. By car, by trucks, open trucks. They took us to Flossenburg. In Flossenburg also they didn't give us any, but there was a working camp. People worked there. Were the stone. They had there was mainly Steinbruch.
Stone quarries.
Very hard work. People they died like the flies from there. And we stayed there for 2 weeks. They kept us in the barracks, didn't do anything. We sat in corners, groups, 20, 30 people, from the morning, after they gave us the portion in the morning, the ration, till lunchtime, till the people came home from work, sit and not even move, except somebody wanted to go to the bathroom. People sit there for 12 hours on one spot, not to move. In the evening, he got us some extra places where to sleep. It was on the fourth floor, fourth etage, or under the beds, because people worked, they had to have their bed. Anyway, the 2 weeks went by. It took us to a different camp. This was the last camp already. In Ganaker, near Eggenfelden. We came there, 500 people. We came there, there was just an empty barrack with piles of straw. Took out about 10 people, and they made those. Yeah, also inside were those bridges, bunks, bunk beds, two people. They spread out a straw, nothing empty, nothing there. And they put us to bed. We had to go to sleep. They took along bread from the other camp for us, but they didn't give us till the morning. But coffee we didn't have, because it had a field kitchen for the coffee, but they didn't rush to give us. They needed for themselves. They let us have some water, but we brought from the outside. And there, this was in January, the beginning of February. Next day, we went to work. They had to build an airport for the German Air Force, a military airport. I think the airport is still standing till today. It was a big field, the size of an airport. We had to cut out the grass and then to bring the material to build, pave it. We had no water on the premises. We had to go bring water from the farmers. The farmers lived around. So every time the assessment took 2 people to get water. Once my Saul went for the water, and he found out that asked the Germans should give him a piece of bread. The farmers had bread, they had food. It was a little town, a village, a town. He came back next day. He said, I will go again. Why shouldn't I go? Here I don't have to work. To go a half a kilometer or a kilometer to bring a pail of water is not so bad. But he can get a piece of bread. Next day, he couldn't, he was cold for the water, he didn't have his coat on. He worked, he took off his coat. We had winter, we had long coats at that time. He grabbed my coat. Every coat had his number, prisoner number. He took my coat. On his way back, he packed himself up with bread, with potatoes, because he said to the farmer he should give the assessment a couple of eggs. He could use a couple. They were also rationed at that time. It was the end of the war. They were happy to get some extra food. So the assessment appreciated it. He let him talk to the German. We were not allowed to talk to a German. We allowed him to ask him for bread. He gave him a slice of bread. He packed it in all over. He came back. The Obersturmführer, the head German, came along to see what's going on with the work. He saw two guys with the assessment walking with water, but he saw they're filled up, they're blowing out. Go, what's going on? What's there? No, so it tapped him. Throw out everything to my cousin. He wrote down his number. It was my number. He threw out whatever he had, the packets and in his shirt, whatever he could. He threw out everything. Okay. And then the other guy, he wrote him also down. And he threw out all what they have. There are a few potatoes. That's all what they have. He says yes. He touched him here. He gave him a few flicks, you know. He found he had more. He almost killed him until he threw out everything. Came back to the working place. My cousin pulled out from his pants another piece of bread. But the other guy also had another piece of bread someplace hidden. And my cousin saw that he has a piece of bread. This we have to share because we went together and I didn't have anything. Okay. This is not the end of it. Came back to the lager, to the roll call at night. Called us out, the two bandits that we were.
I thought one was you.
One was me, one was the other guy. He had these two numbers. They didn't know a face different, one face than the other, numbers. And he started to read a protocol. Everybody should get 20 Schmidt, 20
Lashes.
20 lashes over his behind. Took us into the room where the couple lived, and he started to count. I don't know why I was noisechain. He said to me, yell loud. He hit on the not on me. He didn't hit me. He hit on the
chair,
on the side, loud, and I should make noises, and then he counted over 20, and I should walk out like I'm all sick. And the other fellow, he gave him on his behind fully 20 lashes. He walked out so sick. It was a pity.
And you have no reason why he didn't do it to you?
I don't know. He didn't do it to me. Just anyway. This was this day. And then the Air Force started to bombard. It was almost, they started to bring in their airplanes. It was February,
March 45.
Beginning of April. It was nice days. The summer was approaching already. And the English or Americans started to bombard, and they put on the field that planes and fake planes. We knew that when they come, we had to hide. We can't walk around. The assessment ran us to the shelters. some of them went to their shelters and were hiding behind the planes. And they hit the planes. But they didn't hit a single fake plane, only the real planes they hit. I was already sitting in a plane. In the last moment, we said, they will probably hit the planes. Let's get out of there. We ran in a dig. We hid ourselves. Once they hit a bomb, they killed a few people from the
Prisoners.
From the prisoners. And then, after also once, they needed people to work in a kitchen, in the military kitchen. They didn't tell us where. They took out a group, 20 people. I was among them, in Saul also. We came there, and there we had a big picnic. We had to peel potatoes. I mean, no, boiled potatoes. They were cooked, they were hot. Okay, we didn't have no skin, we didn't care. As long as we could grab a few potatoes in our mouth. They were watching us, but you couldn't watch so much. You had a few pieces of carrot and a few pieces of this. We had some food extra, but we didn't have, and we had enough water. Next day, they were looking again. They just took me, and I came back with a whole portion of food from the camp, from this kitchen. Other guys got sick. Their stomach had started to lose stomach. It was terrible. The whole way from the kitchen to the camp, they were awful sick. Then we started to. It was after time. The time was closed. They had to evacuate again. We walked from there. It was on the 23rd of April. We started to walk away, walk direction to Bavaria, Eggenfelden. Away, we slept in a also in a barn, and this was dragging on till the end, till the 27th. But,
Of April?
April.
What happened on the 27th?
Wait a minute. No, we were deliberated. No, it was later. What am I talking about? May the 8th. This was, and I was thinking about the Jewish date. It was like Boime. We worked about 4 days. 4 days we were out on the go, on the walking.
You knew it was Lag Boimer then?
We knew, yes.
How did you know it was Lag Boimer?
Because I knew when it was Pesach.
How did you know when was Pesach?
How did you know with the Hungarians had the Hungarian had a cheshbon. They knew. They came late. We knew when the Shabbos, the dates. We figured we had a cheshbon. In fact, this Pesach, we found a day before Pesach. They took us to a different kind of work. Being in Garnake, in Garnake, in this camp, they took us a different kind of work. And we found a kohlrabi, a big kohlrabi. We cut it in pieces and we took it along.
What's a kohlrabi?
A vegetable, a kind of a big, a kind of a melon. It wasn't a melon, a heart inside. And we cut it to pieces and we stuck it in there. He came back and we made kiddush out of it. We made a seder. So in the bed with me, my cousin, and myself. But we couldn't survive not to eat the bread what they gave us. This is the only Pesach what I ate chametz. From there, he took us, marched with us. On the way, they made a lot of people got killed. They shot a lot of people. At this time, people tried to escape. They shot them, and they tried to stop walking. They couldn't walk no more. They went on horses or on bikes or in whatever wagons. They didn't walk so much to assessment, but they watched us.
Did you know at this time, did the people know that the end of the war was coming near?
It looked, we felt it in the air. We could feel, we saw planes bombarding, we knew this is it, the end is coming. We knew already.
But did you know who the planes belonged to? You had no idea of America or...
The Germans didn't bomb the Germans.
But you didn't know
No.
who was coming?
No.
Could have been the Russians, for all you know.
We didn't know, no, this we didn't know. Who was coming, we didn't know. And came to the last place, last stop. They took us into also to a barn, groups already, different barns. Every assessment took a group of prisoners to a different barn. Went to a barn, we saw the assessment, put away his uniform, hid his
Gun.
not the rifle, into the straw. He saw this looks like the end of it. My cousin and I went up on a higher platform. When they went out, we went back in. We were hiding up there. We brought up the ladder up there. They shouldn't. We were hiding there. And then, in fact, the next day, another two assessment came to get together again those prisoners, which they couldn't find too many. But they let them go anyway, and then the Americans arrived.
1 second. So the SS men went away,
Yes.
and you stayed hiding in the barn.
Yes.
How long-
Because
how
we were
long?
expecting this, we didn't know it's the end of it. But because the Germans are still there. If the assessment is there nobody else arrived, nobody is there.
So the SS men left already?
The assessment left, and we didn't know whether they left
took
already for
prisoners with
good
them?
or they're coming back.
Did they take any prisoners with them when they
No. But we saw still German soldiers or German assessment
through.
going in the streets. This was in a little town in Eggenfelden. Was it in Eggenfelden? Not in Eggenfelden. Not different, a little town,
In Germany?
Massing.
In Germany this was?
In Germany, in Bavaria. And then the next day, the farmer brought us in food. He knew that we are from concentration camp inmates. They brought us in food. But I was holding back my cousin and myself from eating. It was fat meat. I said we shouldn't eat it. We went out to a bakery, and we asked for bread, and because a few people died after this.
After eating the fat meat.
After eating fat meat, one died right away, and the other one got. They turned around everything, and they took him to the hospital. But in fact, the next day the Americans arrived. They didn't understand us. We didn't understand them. Not a word. They thought. Oh wow!
We're getting close to the end of the second
Yeah.
tape, I'm just telling you.
And that's how we.
The Americans came a day or
The
two
American came. They started to give us food from
later?
there.
What happened when they saw you? What was their reaction?
I don't know. I didn't understand a word. They didn't know who I am. I didn't know what I want. I saw them eating, and I opened my mouth.
They gave
So
you.
they gave us some food.
And what did they do with you? Where did they take you?
They didn't take me any place. I just went back to this farmer, and I slept over in the same barn. A few guys. Then the next day we started to organize some food for ourselves. We went to the bakery.
This was May.
It was May the 8th. We were still wearing their prisoners'
Prisoners.
clothes, But we weren't afraid anymore because we saw the assessments have vanished. They're not there anymore. And the Americans arrived. Okay, this is how it ended.
Well, what happened? I mean, how did you get back to America? What did you do? What happened then? I mean, you're sitting at a farm, and now you're sitting in America. Something
Right.
happened in between.
From there, we went to the nearest city, a concentration of a lot of the prisoners who came from the others.
The Americans brought you, or you walked?
No, we walked actually. We tried to find out to Eggenfelden. We tried to find out where we thought we are the only ones who survived. We didn't know there are more Jews left. But they told us there is a city, there are more people there from concentration camp. The Germans told us there are more people there. And a car was wagon with the horse, a buggy when pressing, or a car was going. We jumped on it and we went there. We came there. There was a bigger concentration from other camps, but they survived in this neighborhood. And there was also Poles and Ukrainians and Russians, all the prisoners, not only Jews. There was the UNRWA organized, they made a kitchen there.
Who?
The American government made a free kitchen for those inmates from concentration camp. They gave us, fed us good. Clothes we didn't have yet. When I came into a German, he said to me, he'll give me a jacket, I should take this off. It's not nice. I took it off. He didn't want me to wear this
prison.
But people somehow got the clothes from the Germans, and we found an apartment. We didn't rent it, but just we found an apartment where we could stay, Saul and I, in Eggenfelden, a few days. Then we found out, we started to get acquainted with American soldiers. So we want to work, we thought we want to work in the kitchen. They needed KPs, kitchen personnel. And Saul and I went to a nearby village, Massing, and we started to work with them in the kitchen. There we started to live it up, get fat, eat all day, eat and eat and eat.
But what happened then? How did you get back to America?
Okay. We worked there with them for a few months, and then
you still had no idea where to get, what to do, where to go. What were you thinking? I mean, what was your goal at this point? What were you trying to do? Just live?
Just to live, just to get, not to be hungry anymore. Just to live. I knew I have nobody to look for. My entire family is out. This I know. People started to go back to Poland to look for the families. I didn't have the desire to go back at that time to Poland.
There was nothing there.
I have nothing there. And so I went to work a few weeks with the American army, and then they left to a different place. And I said to Saul, I knew where they went, a different part of the country, a couple of 100 miles away, in Pegnitz.
Yeah.
We took a train. And
How did you have money? You were paid by the army?
No, we didn't need any money.
You let people go on?
They couldn't do anything to us. At that time, we were free love with nothing. We went into a store, gave me food. They gave me food. They were afraid somehow. They were afraid of us.
They realized what the Germans had done.
Yeah, they were afraid of us. And we went there. Also in this same little town, a German didn't want us to give us the apartment. He had Schwarzschabbes. We gave him hell. Went in with a soldier. We didn't open the door. We just knocked the door open, and he started to shiver like a leaf. Yeah. Here, take this and take this. Go, but He had to give us two rooms, and he went back to sleep with his wife in the kitchen.
What were they afraid of? They were afraid of the Americans or afraid of the
They're
prisoners?
afraid of us, of prisoners, of the Americans also, but they knew what's coming to them.
What happened?
They were expecting, but they didn't get anything. Anyway, I went to Pegnitz, and I met the same army there, the same group of people. They gladly took me in, and I found an apartment also, and I stayed there. After they left, I stayed there, and that's where I started to travel around with my cousin, and I went to Munich, and I found my wife there, and I married there. And from there, I went back to Pegnitz after the wedding, after marriage. A child was born, the first child was born to us, and from there we went to America.
When did you first realize the magnitude of what the Germans had done? When did it first come about that everyone knew 6 million Jews were killed? I mean, did this?
When we found this out,
Yeah.
we started to get together the first few weeks. We didn't know how
But you
many.
still didn't know the magnitude, how big it was. When did
No.
the world realize this?
After from the newspaper started to write a lot about it
After the war.
after the war.
During
the war, I didn't have a mirror, I didn't have a watch, I didn't have a paper or pencil, didn't have a newspaper, I didn't see a radio, I didn't know anything. I was out completely.
None of the
from
prisoners had bootleg radios, black market radios or anything?
No, in ghetto there was once, one had a radio, and they traced him, they shot him right away. Nobody had a radio, talking about a radio.
Were there any special observances of Shiva or mourning for the people who were killed?
Where?
I don't know, by the Jews afterwards.
In Lage?
No, afterwards,
After
after the
the-
war, by the Jews. Everyone was for himself already. There was nothing. Now, let me ask you the last question. What do you feel should be passed on?
Again?
What do you feel the lessons are that should be passed on to your children, your grandchildren, from the war, for what happened, all you went through, and the life you had in Europe before the war?
I hope that something like this can't happen again. On the other hand, there's only a hope. It shouldn't happen again. Whether it might happen again, who knows, maybe. But I believe if Israel will exist, it will not happen.
During this time, when you were in concentration camp, did anybody feel any kind of shaykhus to Eretz Yisrael? No one even thought about it, or?
I don't think so. Anybody thought of anything like it, of Eretz Yisrael. We didn't know. I didn't know about America, whether something like this exists.
What kept you going? I mean, at that point you had nothing to live for but your own life. You had no family.
I had a fantasy during the war, while I was walking to work, whether in Gleiwitz or where I was in Flossenburg or in Ganake, when I was walking to work, I had in mind, I didn't know whether the Gerrer Rebbe lives or not. I believed I didn't know that he is not alive. Then I believed he is alive. And this kept me going. I wanted to live over the time, and I should be able to face the Gerrer Rebbe, and he will see me, he will know what's inside me, how I am. That's kept me being, believe, a minimum betuchen.
Why did you come to the United States instead of Israel? Did you consider going to Israel?
Whether I considered going to Israel? I don't know. I don't think so. I went, yes. My cousin, we lived together we were
Saul?
liberated together, Saul Reichbert. We were together, and we lived together after the war also, all the time, till he went to Canada. With the youth group, somehow he went to Canada. And my dream was, we didn't want to separate with each other. We want to stick together. I was supposed to go to Canada. I went already to the Canadian consul to go to make the papers and everything. But he refused me because I went as a farmer. The only way how to get to Canada was as a farmer. He said, everything is fine, but a farmer you are not. The way he looked at me, when I was young, I looked like a nice, young, not like a farmer anyway.
Like a city slicker.
Yeah. And then he refused me. Same day I went to the American consulate. And to Israel, it was, I think, Aliyah bet at that time also. It was illegal Aliyah. It was a struggle to go to Israel.
When did you come to America?
50.
1950.
Not at that time, it wasn't a problem to go to Israel. But
That was already after the war.
it was after the 48, sure. The beginning was a problem.
Did you, when was the first time you went to see the Gerer Rebbe after the war?
1960, I didn't see this Gerer Rebbe anymore.
No, I realized that, but the basis wrong.
Base was 65.
What were your emotions at that time? Did you think about the war and about his father?
Sure. He knew my family. When I came there, it was already almost 20 years after the war.
Had he lived in Gerer at the time when you went to...
Yeah. I knew him. He didn't know me. I was a young Bucher, but I knew him. I knew today's Rebbe, and I knew him. And I knew
What were your emotions when you saw him? Knowing that his father's image kept you going through concentration camp.
Well, what to say? It's hard to describe now. It's also 20 years went by. I felt I'm home. I felt I went back home. This made me feel so great.
Well, one final question. What do you want your children to remember about this? What should they learn? Is there any lesson that they should learn from this?
I don't know what to say. It's hard to say, but there's among the lines from sitting and talking over so many hours, I think everybody is his own, they're grown-up people. They can find so many things, what to take out from this and from that, from so much talking, they can learn a lot, I don't know what.
Shkoyach.